Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at another new premium ship coming to the game. This time the Tier 9 Nanning. This Pan-Asian destroyer is essentially a Hayate hull with Russian guns swapped onto them. The DPM here is decent, but what really stands out is our shell velocity. This ship is incredibly easy to use as a gunboat destroyer, easily able to hit targets well outside most DD's range at this tier. 14.2 kilometers of range here with this build, and very comfortably able to hit targets at that range. In fact, it's a 9-second flight time out to 14 kilometers. So very nice, comfortable gunboat to play, alongside the absolutely excellent Pan-Asian smokes, which have a decent uptime, but importantly, you have a very fast cooldown on them, allowing you to quickly pop a smoke after your first one disappears. This, alongside the British smokes, are two of my favorite smokes in the entire game for pure farming builds. And Nanning, having that with this amazing shell velocity, allows us to play an awesome gunboat role at Tier 9. This ship will be a part of the Naval Legacy event, and only in Admiral bundles or for gambling. Unfortunate that we don't have a direct purchase option. As always, that's what I'm campaigning for anytime I'm talking to Wargaming in these videos. I'm going to bring it up every single time. I really just need them to provide a direct purchase option. Direct purchase of a Tier 9 is still not cheap, but 137 US dollars is a lot of money these days. And for this ship, I'm not sure if that's necessarily going to be worth it. The ship also does get some interesting torpedoes here. You can see they're a little bit slow. You can think of these a bit like the black Torps here at Tier 9, where they go incredibly slowly, yet have insane alpha damage. These Torps do 27,133 alpha damage. I think that's the highest Torp alpha in the game. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there, but absolutely ridiculous damage. But they only go 45 knots. So they're zoning Torps at this point, almost like sea mines. But when you hit, oh man, the damage is absolutely filthy. Your reload is 150 seconds on those, so you're not getting the best DPM out of these torpedoes. That's where I think this is primarily a gunboat. Your concealment is all right. You can get yourself down to 6.1, 6.2 kilometer detect. And for a gunboat with guns this strong, this is quite comfortable. The ship has all right HP. It's nothing too special here. There's no healing either, so you do got to be a little mindful of your HP. Hayate hull is not the most maneuverable. It's a little bit large, so it can take some damage. But your base HP should be more than enough to be a consistent gunboat threat throughout the entire game. And again, these smoke screens are absolutely excellent for setting up and farming, as well as getting yourself out of trouble. One of the reasons that I love the British smokes and the Pan-Asian smokes more than the American smokes, which have the best uptime, they just last forever in one spot, is that you can burn a smoke and not feel too bad about it, in that you use it to get away from a bad situation and not feeling like you're wasting an opportunity to use that smoke for farming some damage, because these come back so much quicker. I prefer that to the extended smoke staying in one spot for so long with the American destroyers. While we're talking here, notice how slowly these Torps get to this lion. That's why I wanted to include this in here. It's very hard to lead battleships or anyone with these torpedoes. But when they hit, oh, that damage is absolutely wild. We're going to get 3 total Torp hits on this lion here for an insane amount of damage. We actually nearly finish him off with those torpedoes. 2 Torps, 37,000 damage. That hurts. And for battleships, they don't heal back a lot of that damage. So very, very powerful when they do hit. Your bread and butter, of course, is going to be your guns with this one, but the Torps are absolutely hilarious. And immediately going to try and light some fires on this guy. Fortunately, getting that insta-fire here. Fire chance is at 8% on this ship, so not insane, but it does put you among the best fire spammers of these Tier 9 destroyers. 6.7 fires per minute. Not quite as good as the best, like Friesland and Groningen, up at 10.7 fires per minute. Kitakazi around 8. So decent, but not too special there in fires per minute. The thing that sets this ship apart, of course, is this shell velocity. Just look at how easy it is for me to lead at these shells. For the ships that have better than 8-second shell velocity to 12 kilometers, this is just a random number I'm picking out, but better than 8 seconds, you pretty much only have Katsonis that has better DPM than you. Everything else, like the Udaloy, the Tashkent, you get the Mogador as well. A lot of these higher caliber gunboat DDs have lower DPM than you. That's what's really nice about this ship. So you retain a lot of extra DPM, 159,000 HE DPM, while having some of the best shell velocity in the entire game. Richelieu turning broadside, he's going to eat 3 torpedoes. That's not quite enough to finish him there. The Monty gets the finishing blow. But 46,000 damage from 3 torps. It's hard to land, okay? It's hard to land them, but it is hilarious anytime you do. DPM, again, back to this DPM though. 159,000 HE DPM puts you only slightly behind. Well, we're fighting a black. Here we are. 161,000 HE DPM on the Fletcher or the black. And that ship, to 12 kilometers, has an 11.2 second shell flight time. We nearly have double the shell velocity, or we have half the time to target compared to a Fletcher gun with similar DPM. It's very comfortable to use these guns. Your AP is surprisingly good as well. In fact, getting even better DPM relative to your counterparts at tier 9. There's no improved pen angles here on this AP, unfortunately. Just standard fuse times for destroyers here as well. But crucially, you have improved pen on these guns. So at 12 kilometers, you get 112 millimeters of pen. At 10 kilometers, 132 millimeters of pen. That puts you just behind the Schultz as far as AP at your tier for gunboat destroyers. It's enough to get through some light cruisers, especially if you get that elusive down tier at tier 9 down into tier 7 games. There's some very squishy light cruisers there that you could be an absolute menace to. I'm not using the AP enough here. I'm trying to get the perma-fires here on this Kremlin, but we should definitely be swapping to that AP, trying to aim for upper belt, especially at these ranges. We should have pretty good pen. What are we, 7.7? Let me just do the chart thing here. 7 kilometers, we have 147 mil pen. On DD guns, man. That's crazy. These are 130 millimeter guns. That's very, very strong. Buffed up, in fact, from things like Udaloy or Tashkent, which also have the Soviet guns at this tier. Those get 113 millimeters of pen at 7 kilometers, where we have 174. This AP is quite potent at dealing with more armor, especially than we would consider a standard gunboat destroyer able to. The bread and butter, though, still is going to be your HE, lighting fires, because it's so easy to land shells on target. We're only going to launch 1 set of torps here. I really need to be finishing off this Kremlin soon. You notice our smoke screen is going to end in another 25 seconds or so. The carrier's around. We got to be careful, man. And I don't want to launch both and then have to wait for 150 seconds to get our next set of torpedoes. Fortunately, we can predict that the Kremlin would like to stay in the cap, and he's going to stop there in front of those torps for us. Our AA is surprisingly good on this ship. I don't talk about AA very often when it comes to any ships in this game, simply because I don't think it's all that effective. But whether it be this defensive fire helping us out, or this carrier deciding to run into flat clouds, because that's really the only way we get the majority of plane kills, we get a decent number of plane kills there. 13 plane kills, but only 10,000 plane damage. Perhaps that was mostly damage into his fighter squadron. That's a way to inflate our plane kill total that doesn't really have any impact on the carrier's ability to strike us, unfortunately. It's nice to have a defire, but most of the time you're going to try to keep your AA off. That's what the little button there is next to our HE shells. Always try to keep your AA off whenever you're in a destroyer. Keeps you dark as long as possible. But you should turn it on if you're consistently spotted like we are, open water gunboating, or if you are plane spotted by the carrier. By the looks of things in this match, unfortunately, we are not going to have good luck with getting a win here. But I want you to really pay attention to how I'm able to spam these smokes out. It's so convenient to have these Pan-Asian smokes alongside a gunboat DD. They are probably the best for farming. The daring ones, the British line ones, do end a lot quicker, but they come back a lot quicker too. I find these Pan-Asian smokes to be a bit of the sweet spot for farming. You set up for a decent amount of time, last like a minute or so in one spot, and then you can move on. That seems to be about the right timing, at least for my playstyle, to set up in one position and then move on to continue farming. Harugumo here at 12 kilometers, and dispersion not looking so good at times. Could be my aim as well, but the lead here is not too difficult to land on a Harugumo and get the shells within the ballpark of where that enemy ship is. The shell velocity here is what sets this ship apart as its own unique ship here. We've seen ships with similar DPM. We've seen ships with similar funny torpedoes. The Black is a great example of that. But to have this level of DPM with really comfortable arcs, really only it's going to be the Katsonis that has that as an option. So for a premium ship, if that's interesting to you, this could be worth looking at. But for a tier 9 premium, it doesn't bring all that much to the table. You could look at Mogador if you want that pure gunboat playstyle with really, really nice shell velocity. That reload booster is quite fun as well. But it doesn't have the concealment. This one has really quite solid concealment to go with these guns. Nice alpha damage there, 3,500. Not quite able to finish off that Frugamo there. Our smoke's just about to end on us, and we only have to wait 25 seconds until our smoke is available again. Very little downtime on these smokes. I think that is something you really should be aware of if you've never played the Pan-Asian destroyers or the light cruisers, for example. The smokes here are really, really nice. Some of the more comfortable ones in the game. Yet another torp hit with these incredibly slow torpedoes. I got very lucky this game, all right? I did not... Most of my games, I hit 0 torps, by the way. I'm including these just as a good example of how much damage these torps can net you. But it's pretty RNG based. You got to get lucky with landing these torpedoes that people walk into their path, I guess is the best way to put it. We smoke up here. Ohio is fortunately spotting this guy. Just goes dark, and the Ohio actually helps us to finish him off. Now we're the last one left. Solo warrior, anyone? No, definitely not going to happen this time. But a decent example of how much damage this ship can farm when people are pushing into you. That, of course, is the easiest time to be farming damage, and this one can do it quite well. Your battle impact is a little bit limited in your damage ability with this one. Fortunately, that 6.2 kilometer detect is good enough to be contesting caps. Your hull is a little bit awkward. The turning circle radius, your rudder shift, it's all a little bit slow. The hull is quite large, I would say as well. If you've played Hayate, you've been used to this before. It's a little bit awkward to play at times, but it is good enough that you can contest caps with it. So for a ship to be this competent at long-range HE farming in games like this one, to also have the ability to contest caps, it's a pretty good all-rounder, I would say. A little bit awkward at times if you get into closer range engagements with some of the really scary gunboats of your tier, like a Friesland or Groningen. That could be a pretty bad time for you because they massively out-DPM you. But if we do find ourselves in a situation like that, we should just be outspotting them by a little bit. And as soon as we take that engagement to 7, 8, 9 kilometers, they're going to have a tough time hitting our ship, where we will easily be able to hit theirs. If you're playing Nanning as a gunboat DD trying to hunt enemy destroyers, have battle impact on caps, you should always be aware of how you can turn away from the engagements and start kiting, because that's where your advantage comes. You do have good DPM for your tier, but your real advantage lies in this shell velocity. A match like this one, kind of a blowout in the other direction, I guess we could say. A lot of blowouts these days. Hard to get those close, tight games that require a lot of brain power in the late game, unfortunately. Those being my favorite. We could still see a great example of this ship not using its smoke screen, because we are going to be the ones spotting these battleships in the enemy spawn, and still being able to open water gunboat these guys, just because we're so far away. And the lead is not too bad on these guns that, for the most part, I'm going to hit my shells. Not right now, apparently. For the most part, we can hit our shells not too difficult and actually spend a lot of our brain power dodging. You can dodge a lot of the incoming fire at these ranges, since battleships have relatively slow shell velocity, poor dispersion as well. And while we're not the most maneuverable DD, we're still a destroyer, and we can maneuver quite well. Landing those permafires, instantly targeting the next Iowa. Greedy damage farmer gameplay coming through here. When you get that one fire on a battleship, just transition to the next one to get a single fire. They shouldn't be damage controlling one fires, but if they do, then you swap back to the guy who foolishly damage controlled, and then you hope to get those punishing permanent fires. Hopefully more than one. Ideally, you'd get 2. Here we get 1 instantly. Very nice, very convenient. Sometimes that doesn't come through for us. Now he's getting far enough away that we should be on the first Iowa. But very comfortable gunboat DD to play. Not the most interesting playstyle if you play it like this one, as far as excitement goes. Farming battleships at range isn't too difficult, in my opinion. It's just kind of hold down mouse button 1 and hope you get enough fires that they do go down. But I wanted to include this just to show you how comfortable it can be, even when you have to push the enemy ships in their spawn. A lot of gunboat DDs at this tier won't do particularly well in a situation like this, just because their shell velocity means it's going to be hard to lead your target there. You're going to want to get a little closer. And if you do that, you're probably going to go down. It's a comfy ship to play, but not all that inspiring to me. I probably won't be that interested in playing this one as time goes forward. But if you want a comfortable gunboat to play at tier 9, you're going to earn a lot of credits. This could be one to look at. Although, given the price of 137 US dollars, to me, that makes this a bit of a non-starter here. This ship could be amazing. 137 bucks US is insane, in my opinion. I really do think we need the standard bundles to come back. It's a lot of money, man. But back to this build here, now that we're in port, running a full gun build. I did try a Torp build, okay? I tried it. It's so hard to land these Torps, man. If you fully build for the Torp speed, you get up to 50 knots. That's still incredibly slow. It is hard to land these torpedoes. I would view them as just a nice little bonus, as you would on the black at tier 9 as well. This ship is mainly a gunboat DD, and that's what I think we should be focusing on here. So that's the recommended build from my end here. The commander build looked like this while I was playing with the gun build. I don't really want demo expert. I would prefer to have main battery and AA specialist. Unfortunately, they didn't give me the ability to slot a 21-point commander. I'm not sure why they do this with tier 9 premiums. If you're getting a tier 9 premium, you probably should have around a 21-point commander already, or close to it. I don't understand. But I wasn't able to quite play with 5% better reload here. Given how we are a bit clumsy, you know, our concealment here is 6.2. This is incorrect, by the way, being a test ship. Sometimes this happens in testing where they change things right up to the end date of releasing the ship. This time here in port, it does not show 6.2. In game, I did get to play with 6.2. Our speed is okay, but again, 750 turning circle radius, 4.6 second rudder on a relatively large hull means we're going to take some damage open water. You could run Fearless Brawler and try it, but I think we'd be better off taking main battery and AA specialist, trying to use our smokes to farm up a little bit more, save some of our HP. These guns are really nice, though. They're really, really comfortable to use, man. I really enjoyed them. This hull is a little bit annoying. It's a little clumsy, but given the gun power on display here and relatively good concealment, it's going to be a very strong tier 9 DD. It doesn't have a heal, fortunately. Otherwise, this would be an absolute menace to deal with. Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine. So fortunately, we don't have to deal with that. This is a very strong tier 9 DD, but man, that price is just so high. Fortunately, tomorrow we'll get to take a look at a free ship you can earn, the GQ Johnny. I'll finally take a look at that. That is just a copy-paste Johnson, though. I was kind of disappointed in that. I was intending to show you guys that one first, but I assumed it was going to be a new ship with different characteristics or something. Maybe a heal. That was always the thing we wanted with the Johnson, right? Was a heal on that thing, given its historical nature. But no, it's just a copy-paste of the Johnson. So we'll take a look at that coming tomorrow. Still a good ship, but we got to take a look at the actually new content here. Even if it is just a Hayate hull with a turret swap or a Tulsa hull with a turret swap, it is still a new playstyle, and I wanted to cover that first. But let me know what you think in the comments down below about the Nanning or this whole Naval Legacy event. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.